Hey, Low Code Approach listeners, this is Wendy Haddad. Before we jump into this week's episode, I wanted to let you know that we are starting to plan for the next season, and we want to make sure we hear from you on what is most important and relevant in terms of the topics that we'll be choosing. So if you could open a web browser and pop over to aka.ms/low code topic request, that's aka.ms/low code topic request, all one word. Fill out that brief survey on what topics and what subjects, what guests you might want to hear from. And who knows, maybe it'll make it into the next season of the podcast. Thanks so much and happy listening.
Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of the Low Code Approach. I'm Sean Feeney, a Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Power Platform team, and I'm joined by...
I'm Wendy Haddad. I'm a Senior Cloud Solution Architect, Delivery Lead, and a former Microsoft customer, and I am joined by...
Ken Aguilar, Problem Child, Security Specialist, Governance Extraordinaire, you name it, and all-around Problem Child, here today to talk about a retro topic. Here is a retro hint for the topic, I should say. My buddy, wherever I go, he goes. My buddy, I teach him everything he knows.
Wow, Ken, you are a resident problem child. I will grant you that, but I am excited. I've been wanting this episode for so long, and I'm super, super excited to bring on Erik, Olsson, and Stuart Ridout. They both have launched if you haven't guessed it from Ken's intro, Prompt Buddy, to help with Copilot for M365 adoption. Actually, beyond that, multiple Copilots adoptions there. So Erik and Stuart, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Erik. I am based in Sweden, a wonderful, wonderful place. I have the great privilege of working with Stuart, who's in the UK, and together we try to bring AI and happiness through modern work to everyone on the planet.
I'm Stuart Ridout. So as Erik says, I'm in the UK. We're both part of our modern work incubation team as part of the customer success unit. So we get to kind of just try and find ways to use AI better and specifically looking at how people can kind of prompt better using Copilot. Because it's brand new for everyone. Copilot's still a baby, so we're all learning, aren't we? We're all on that learning curve together.
Awesome. So what exactly is Prompt Buddy and what need is it solving? Let's jump right into these things.
All right. I got this one, if that's okay. Prompt Buddy is a simple app for sharing and discovering internal prompts. Prompts is just another word of saying, giving the AI instructions. So it's nothing new, but as Stuart said, Copilot is still a baby. And then Prompt Buddy is really, really a baby, just having its 1 month birthday, basically today, I think. So we knew that there are tons and tons of documents with good prompts. If you search good prompts on the internet, you'll find pages that you have to pay for to get access. So it's like a hidden gem somewhere. There are Excel lists, there are OneNotes, notepads, internal websites, you name it. It's everywhere, right? And that's kind of the problem because all of those things that I just mentioned, they're made for anything and everything. Whereas Prompt Buddy is super simple and purposefully designed for sharing and discovering prompts. That's it, really. You can like a prompt, you can find it again, and you can add any category apart from Microsoft Copilot. Of course, they're all there. And you have an easy way of just finding prompts by role or industry or persona. That's it.
I think the challenge here is that because everybody's new at prompting, we'd still need to see what other people are doing so we can learn to be better prompters ourselves. So how do you find out that somebody goes, oh, I've got this great prompt that does this? Because it's not really something that we're talking about at our virtual coffee points or, virtual water coolers or going, oh, did you know? I used this wonderful prompt this morning that helped me catch up on my emails. For us, we wanted an easy way for people to be able to share great prompts and kind of build on success of other people and learn from each other.
I think that's so important. I've found this from my own experience that I played with AI and prompting for about a year, but it really took intentionality to become useful. And so figuring out what are the balance of this tool and what can it be used for, and having that inspiration is so helpful. I know Microsoft Research published that, I think, what was it, 11 weeks or something to fully adopt, and I might be off on my numbers.
So they found that if you saved 11 minutes a day consistently for 11 weeks, then it becomes a habit. And that's when people are really starting to see the value. And obviously, our research, that when we look at customers, they're saving way more than that. Some of our, most prolific users are saving significantly more. If you can just look to save 11 minutes a day for 11 weeks, that's the tipping point. And that's where you really start to feel like AI is embedded and is helping you.
Yeah, and so this is where Prompt Buddy, and we've been fortunate to use it as customer zero within Microsoft for a little while now, and which is why I was so excited when you finally launched it, we could talk about it. But it helps us get the value in our business context faster, to get to those 11 minutes plus faster, with tailored to your business, and to be able to share the good things that everyone else is doing internally. So I'm a huge fan. I think this is really great. And to your point, there's so much value that this is bringing to your company.
Thank you. And when we showed it with a limited number of customers, and every customer that we showed it to, like, I need this in my organization today. So as customer zero, if the demand's there for us, it's definitely there for customers as well. So, there was a big call for that.
So you mentioned that, users can go in, learn about new prompts. They can favorite them, kind of like add ranking to them and promote different prompts to their organization and role. So that's internally for them, right? But what about when you guys develop new prompts that you want to share? Like, how do you go about understanding what are the most used ones? How do you update the app? What's the strategy behind that to deliver the latest and greatest to your users?
So that's a great question. So the app is actually built on top of the Employee Ideas app. There was a Dataverse for Teams app that used to be put in and then went on to GitHub. So we kind of based it around that, because that had the same ethos about, like, I'm sharing a great idea and people can upvote it and discover new things from that. So when we package up the app, and we've had a few updates that have come through, we designed a way to be able to import a JSON file with our best prompts. So we give customers like starter prompts. It was never our intention to say, here is a fully featured library of the best prompts in the world, but just enough that so you could see the value of it and you weren't starting from scratch. We wanted people to feel like it was partially hydrated when they got it. But, we've got, certainly, in the UK, we've got lots of local government organisations who are working together, and they've all got their own individual Prompt Buddy instances. But because they can export the JSON of all of the prompts, they can then share them between each other in their community, so they're kind of getting value from each other. So that's really our way of sharing and updating. And every time we do an update, we do look at the best prompts that we have internally to kind of go, that'd be a great one to add in and showcase as we go forward.
That leads me into a question. I thought maybe you all had paid Wendy a side fee or something to create more prompts for you, or something along those lines. But how customizable is Prompt Buddy? And what's the difference between this and, say, a Copilot?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think that we find with Prompt Buddy is when we show people like the visual. Absolutely, Copilot and interacting in this conversational way is undoubtedly the future. But people like the visual. They like to be able to kind of click around and be inspired and things like this. So I think that's where the value is today, is being able to kind of browse around and click, because people don't know what they don't know. So right now they need to be inspired. I think as they kind of go up a maturity curve and people start to become better users of Copilot, then they would be able to interact with this in a more conversational way. And that's something that we could then look to do, is kind of hook it into Copilot Studio and things like this. So if you wanted to still interact through the app visually, then you could do that. But if you want to interact with it as a Copilot, you could too. Because it is built on the Power Platform, it is completely customizable. So if you wanted to have an approval mechanism in place before it goes in, then the world is your oyster. You can link that into Power Automate, send a funky little adaptive card to the line manager of the person, and get them to say, yes, that looks like a decent prompt, and put it through that. And we're looking at ways that we can make that experience better. So we have apps, so you can tag a prompt into an app, you can tag a prompt into department, and you could tag a prompt into a persona, or you can tag it to multiple ones if it goes across multiple different areas. And what we're looking at is to say, could we add a subscription feature so that if you said, I'm really interested in frontline worker prompts, and you could say, right, I want to subscribe to that, and on a weekly basis, we'll send you a digest of the newest prompts that have come in and things like this. So, we absolutely want to see other people build on top of this and make it their own and change it and share it back with us because, we're all learning from each other.
What you're saying makes complete sense. And I had a question. I just want to take us back a moment when you talked about exporting the JSON. So the way that you described it, just, the way my mind processed it, let me say it that way, because it could be my perception. That sounded to me like the ability to create templates. So do you foresee maybe two things? And Erik, I'm going to send this to you. Is this the beginning of, say, just sharing templates between a broader community? And will this ever just be something that we publicly say, hey, here's the catalog for the community and with all of the prompts?
So Ken, I think you're a little bit ahead of your time because we're getting these questions and requests. So if we just start with Microsoft works with so many partners, right, around the world. We provide Prompt Buddy for it's free. Anyone with an M365 license can use Prompt Buddy for free. And the real value is the internal prompts that they will be generating. But if you're a partner, if you're, an AI influencer, if you're Wendy, if you're Sean, whoever you are, and you have a great idea or you have a prompt library, you can package that and allow that to be imported directly into Prompt Buddy. If you have a business and your business is, crafting and selling prompts, you could offer prompt packages for sale, and then those can be imported straight into Prompt Buddy. Ken, you're right on the money. I mean, that's really where we're going. And I think it's really important to just iterate that the value, as Stuart stated, was never us providing hundreds and hundreds of prompts as sort of a subscription service. The real value is each customer's or each organization's unique internal prompts for their purposes that we can't even guess what they're going to be, right? So that's the real value when they start sharing. But however, the samples that we do provide with the app are some of the really, really popular ones and top ones at Microsoft. So of course, that's a very exciting starting point. So we think it's a market for actually packaging prompt templates, to use your words, Ken. For sure.
And they come in time as well. So we see that through our own maturity within Microsoft. When we started off with Prompt Buddy, we could see people adding fairly basic prompts. And then as we've all kind of matured with it, we can see more sophisticated things. And then the prompts that are coming in are also seasonal. So we're coming up to our end of year and people are writing their connects, which are our annual reviews, and perspectives where we're asking for feedback for each other. So we're now starting to see prompts for connects and perspectives appearing on Prompt Buddy to say, hey, this is how you can write a better connect or a better perspective for people. So again, like Erik said, we could just export a package of annual review prompts. And, if you were administering your own Prompt Buddy, you could say, right, we're going to import all of these at this point, just so it fits in with your cycle.
And I'd even go so far to say you have industry-specific prompts and all of those types of things. But let me get off my soapbox now, and please hand the mic off to Sean.
It's so real fast. You made some really good points about community driving more prompts going in. But how do you see Prompt Buddy being included in organizations' centers of excellence for part of implementation and the strategy around that?
That's where it really started because our team worked with a lot of the early access program Copilot customers around the world. The Center of Excellence was something that everybody knew about. And we were like, yeah, this fits perfectly into a Center of Excellence. So it's being packaged in a few countries now for the standard Center of Excellence. Of course, if you're starting to learn Copilot, prompt is a natural thing. And then being able to learn, not necessarily become a master yourself, right? You learn from someone who's extremely excited or has a passion for this, and you start there as an inspiration, and that's how you grow. If you're listening and you know what a Center of Excellence is and you don't have a Prompt Buddy in it, you're missing out. It's free. Let's go.
And I'm going to jump in here because both as a background doing customer success and as a customer myself, and then now working in customer success, helping customers adopt, whether you call it a center of excellence or not, when you're using Copilot, there's a certain amount of intentionality that is needed to train your employees and support your employees in their adoption. We're finding that because it's natural language, employers are just buying licenses and saying, go, you can figure this out. And while some people may, especially people with generalist skills, generally it's a new muscle they're building, long form communication, more detailed instructions that you're providing. And so having an intentional strategy around adoption, whether it's leveraging our free adoption kit that we have published, and Prompt Buddy is a part of that, or things that my team does is bringing in teams of architects in place to help you craft that adoption strategy and deploy these tools, is absolutely helpful. Prompt Buddy provides the visual aspect. It provides the gamification piece, which you didn't really touch on, but you've got your leaderboard of your top prompts and top contributors. So I know that can be a little bit of an, ooh, I want to submit a prompt to get my name on that leaderboard. I was for one time, and Stuart, you beat me out again. But you know, it's very helpful, right, to provide that motivation and that incentives. And then you can do, as leaders, a prompt of the week you want to highlight in other channels. And so taking this crowdsourced prompt is super helpful. I want to take us a little bit of a different direction. As much as I am a fan, I don't want to overly fangirl on Prompt Buddy. So now I'm going to put my critical IT hat on and start asking you some more technical questions about Prompt Buddy, because I want our listeners to feel comfortable with the decision of whether or not to deploy. So can we start with support? Is this an official Microsoft product? Is it supported? What's the future of this in terms of this and Copilot Lab? Can you talk a little bit about that direction?
Okay, quick distinction. Microsoft Copilot Lab, which comes with a Copilot license, is an official Microsoft product. Prompt Buddy is not. It is something that we provide as a template, if you will, for people to enjoy and then take it wherever they want it to go. So there is no official Microsoft support connected to Prompt Buddy. It is a template. You download it, you own it. It's yours. You do whatever you want to do. And that's also the beauty of it. You have control. If you want to add non-Microsoft categories because you created your own AI or you have your own GPTs or you're using other than Microsoft applications, go for it. It's your place to share, discover great prompts. We're not going to tell you what to do. It's yours. As soon as you download it, you own it. It's in your tenant. It's your responsibility to support it as well. However, Stuart and I do our best to provide a very smooth, this is the best update versioning that I've seen, having worked with a few Power Apps in the past. So as we provide new features, you can update your existing Prompt Buddy to get the latest features, and we never touch your prompts that you have, your custom prompts or your settings. You just get the new features and can continue where you are. So, but it's important to not rely on Stuart and I to run this as a Microsoft official app, because it is not. There is no 999 support. It's a template. You download it. We give you all our efforts for free, and then it's up to you to maintain.
But that being said, we are listening. We are listening to what people say. We're looking at what's being said on the GitHub issues page, and when people are reaching out and saying, "Oh, I'd love this." So a feature which was recently added was that you can now click on a person's name in the leaderboard, and you can see their other prompts. Because what was happening was people were going, "Oh, I've seen this Wendy person's prompt. I like that prompt that she's done. What other prompts has she written?" And then you can kind of go off, and that would look across everything that you've done across all of the apps, all of the categories, etc. So that was a direct feature request that came in that we went, do you know what, that would be good for us, that would be good for customers. But if you choose not to bring that update in, then it still works for you as well, just as well.
And that's actually a very common practice that we do at Microsoft, is leveraging either the Power Platform, we've seen Azure, some of the Teams apps, to solve problems that customers need and then allow them to iterate on it before we build it in product, as it takes time, right? As Ken knows, to get it into the product itself. The COE Starter Kit is a great example of that for the Power Platform. Just to clarify, is this technically open source? Is it considered open source, or how would we classify that?
So the license is on the GitHub repo. People can do what they want. We are the only ones who contribute to that repo. So we're not bringing in other people's, we're not taking changes from other people. It is controlled by us. So it doesn't have that contribution in that same way where it's coming in from the community. People can take that and do whatever they please with it.
You can create your own fork. You can do whatever you want. I just wanted to add that you guys already noticed that now, and everybody who's listening, that Stuart is so nice. I'm trying to be a little bit of a, manage expectations with like, no support, you're on your own. It's just a template. Of course, we're adding all this stuff, and we have customers saying, hey, Erik and Stuart, it would be awesome if we had this feature. And we're like, you guys can implement it yourself. And they're like, yeah, but we prefer that. We like your style. And, and then we deliver it for them. So we're nicer than we sound, but just to manage expectations of there's no 24-hour support.
Well, I'm glad you're nice, Erik, because I'm always angry, which is... I just want to just double down on something that you said, right? You all own the repo and you are actively listening. It doesn't necessarily mean that this will never make it into the product. We have taken things from other GitHub repos. When you mentioned the COE toolkit, and we're productizing a lot of those things now. So keep the feedback coming. I've said this in the past at community conferences and whatnot. We love feedback. Love it. It brightens my day. So please keep it coming.
Yeah, it's weird. It might be the only thing that makes Ken happy.
That is true, Sean.
Really?
Yes. Especially negative feedback. I love it.
And we quite often get the question, say, how does this work along versus Copilot Labs? And what we say is this is a better together story. We know that the team who are working on Copilot Labs are doing amazing work. They've got some great features which are slated to come. And there is a bit of an overlap with what is there for Prompt Buddy. If you implement it now, you're getting people into that muscle of sharing prompts, writing prompts, looking at prompts, discovering those. And then whatever direction Copilot Lab goes, they will work together on that. And it might be the Copilot Lab becomes like your official curated one, and that Prompt Buddy has more of a community feel. We'll just have to see how that goes out. But again, like Ken says, if there are features that work really well in Prompt Buddy, we know that the product teams are looking at that and they'll go, yeah, that's what we need in Copilot Labs.
So I've got a silly question. The branding of Prompt Buddy, the icon is fantastic. And so I'm putting my marketing hat on, and I want to know how you got there. I want to know how you got to that icon.
We're in embarrassing territory right now. No, so we have this thing. We started to joke about Stuart and I, because we've worked on some different projects in the past. So we were joking around with us being the Koala Brothers for some reason. There are very cool koala emojis and teams that have, cool glasses and everything. So that's just like a little side joke. And then we were designing the logo, and we were like, gotta be a koala. That's where we started. And then we iterated. So this version that we have now, I'm glad you like it, Sean, is an upgrade. We had a cute little koala guy, a little koala in the beginning. Now it's evolved to a more mature. And if you look at the color palette, isn't that just a perfect match with the Microsoft Copilot? So we're thinking about that. We're trying to do it nice. We're trying to brand it so that it feels nice. And if you look at the categories that are included with Prompt Buddy, if you download it as a customer, you can see that we're continuing on that feel to just give it sort of a sense of a vibrant, nice feel. Also, a little tip for all the Prompt Buddy users out there: the prompt to design those graphics is of course included with Prompt Buddy. So if you go to the designer category, you'll find for Prompt Buddy, and you can.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, we have a lot of customers actually asking.
Yeah, because you've got some beautiful graphics inside the apps and like a consistent, it's not pixelated. I don't know what you would call it. I probably should go read the prompt.
Yeah, so we went with origami as the ancient Japanese paper folding art meeting modern technology. So it's like, it's timeless.
But we wanted something fun for the Buddy. Like when we were initially throwing around names, we had the prompt library and like really kind of dull corporate sounded type things.
Prompt Master 3000.
Promptify, Promptly, things like this, and we just went, we'll go with Prompt Buddy, and we want it cute and things like that.
So you've now collected hundreds of prompts. I would love to know some of your favorites. Bonus points if you say my prompts. But what are some of your favorite prompts? And then also talk about like which co-pilots are you collecting prompts for? Because I know you've done it for a few different ones.
Yeah. So Erik, you looked today. How many prompts have we got on our internal one?
374 before this podcast. So Could be an old number or
Yeah, and I have like a little Power Automate that tells me when new prompts come in. So my Teams is pinging all day long with people adding new prompts all the time. When you get Prompt Buddy as a customer and you take it off the GitHub repo, it comes with all of the Microsoft 365 apps and Power Apps and Power Automate. They're the predefined ones. And then there's a handful of departments and a handful of personas. Internally, we've also added Azure Copilot, Copilot for Sales, Copilot Security, GitHub Copilot as well on that. So Viva Copilot. So we collect anything.
Power Platform.
Yeah, we already have Power Apps and Power Automate that. So if it's a Copilot, we'll collect prompts on it. So that's how we're doing that. But a lot of great prompts in there.
Yeah. So Erik, tell everyone about your Lord of the Rings prompt.
Ouch. Okay, so there is a prompt called "One Prompt to Rule Them All," and if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, like I am, you know that has some power to it. It better be good, right? So it's a prompt that is perfect if you just pick one to get started. If you've never used AI before, if you're just getting started, or if you're really advanced, like Wendy, Ken, and the Shams of the world, it's still for you, because what it does is it takes your very basic prompt. You can put in 3 words. I want to, you could say, plan my day. That's your prompt, right? It's not a very good prompt. And then one prompt to rule them all will help you iterate that and revise it until you're happy. You can spend hours with it if you want to. So that's why it's currently the most popular one in Prompt Buddy. And we have comments in the internal version that's coming for the public version. So you can just scroll down the comments, and there are many where people just go, this is a killer prompt, or a prompt killer, or must have been crafted by elves in Rivendell. I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan fiction fun joke there. So just all these jokes and like my precious prompt and stuff like that. But yeah, it's such a good one, because regardless of what you're trying to achieve, you just start with one prompt to rule them all, and it elevates your prompt with you. And you get questions that you would never think about otherwise that you can just ask quickly. So it's one of those prompts that minimum effort, maximum output.
One of the more popular categories of prompts we're getting are ones that are on like daily reviews. So either start of day, end of day. We're seeing some great ones that they're quite long prompts, but are really, really, really in depth. So there is one here from somebody called Wendy Haddad, which is a fairly lengthy one. But, it's saying like, I'm trying to plan for today. I need you to act as my executive assistant. So again, that's a great thing that we're saying to people, you need to tell Copilot what your role is, provide me an overview of what's on my plate today. And then it provides step-by-step guidance. So pull a list of all my meetings, aggregate all the meeting information into a table, and the columns should be this and this and this. So again, adding that specificity to say, this is what the table should look like. It helps people to get to good faster. Summarize my Teams chats and channels for today, go through my inbox and summarize any emails where I'm in the to line, and then put it in the table with this format. Then tell me what are my top 3 actions. And then the last step is to provide a daily AI industry briefing. So go off onto the web, act as my admin assistant, prepare a daily industry brief of big news. Again, here's the table. This is what I want it to look like. And then there's this killer line at the end. Sorry, I'm stop making you big-headed here, but it says, I value thoroughness and accuracy over speed. And the output that comes from that is amazing. And when people say, God, but it's a really long prompt, and you go, it is a really long prompt, but it's worth it, because that's way more than your 11 minutes already saved. If that's the only prompt that you run each day, you've saved more than 11 minutes straight off there.
Ken knows that I like to talk a lot, so it's not surprising, and have probably the longest prompt in Prompt Buddy. So I was going for length there, but no, I'm glad you like it. It was a lot of fun. I've been enjoying.
That was a short prompt.
And the number of prompts that we've got has actually meant that internally for our version, we've now had to add a curation feature. So we are now adding in categories of curated prompts across all of the different things. So we've started off with one for our annual reviews, so connect some perspectives, and then we've got another curated category called planning my workday, and so that's a feature that's then going to roll out into the public version as well.
I thought you were going to say a word count. I know. I feel like we're adding a word count, a cap there.
But I think one of the other ones that we're going to be looking at is trying to highlight some of the best meta prompts from it within there, which are kind of more interactive and have more of a back and forth where people are going, keep asking me the questions until you've got enough to give me the answer.
Hey, so you mentioned the curated categories, they're an ongoing bit of work. What's the roadmap look like for Prompt Buddy?
First off, when we're talking, it might sound strange sometimes, but sometimes our mind goes to the internal Microsoft one, which has a couple of features that is not currently in the public version. So just keep us honest if we say something that is incorrect. But what's coming is language localization is a big thing. So we're working on that. Currently, if you download Prompt Buddy, it's all in English, right? I'm Swedish. I work in a very international team. Stuart's in the UK. We have another colleague in China, another one in Brazil, another one in India, and one in Italy, and another one in Singapore. So our team, our small team, we cover every continent except Antarctica. So language localization is huge for us. And so that's going to come out. And again, if you look in the Microsoft internal version, sorry for those non-Microsofties who are listening to this, if you look there, you can see that you can actually change the prompt language. So in Microsoft France, everyone has the ability to switch to French. The UI is in French. If your UI in Teams or the browser, it's in French, switches automatically, and you get all French prompts. So that's coming, and we're just going to keep adding languages. We have plenty of requests coming in, so Stuart and I are just trying to facilitate that. But we have translations done for Swedish, of course, and then Chinese is done, Hindi is done, both Chinese simplified and Chinese traditional, I should say. Portuguese is done. We're just waiting to launch it, so that's a huge roadmap item. We might also be bringing a feature that we have internally that allows you to have a moderator role. So you don't have to be a manager, like creating new categories and stuff, but you can moderate. You can tag prompts into the correct categories. You can help someone who is misspelled and doesn't want to respell his or her prompt. So that's a little bit of a feature coming up. What else do we have, Stuart? We have so much that we just launched today.
Curation, so the creation of prompts. We've got comments coming as well, which we have internally, but not outside. The new Share to Teams experience is essentially this really nice adaptive card that comes into Teams. It's got the prompt. It can take you into Prompt Buddy, take you to the right page. We've added internally, when it's going to go external soon, the ability to deep link into the right place, so it takes you directly to that prompt page. And stuff like this. So there's loads of exciting stuff coming. And certainly in the initial release, we've really been iterating quickly to try and bring those prompts in. And I think the agility that using Power Apps has given us to be able to do that quickly, but still rigorously, has been really great for us.
Well, Erik and Stuart, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Again, I love the work you're doing with Prompt Buddy, and every time I meet with customers, they're pretty wowed by it. So it's fun to get to actually meet the makers of this. You have a really great video, Stuart, of how to set this up and configure it. And so we didn't really dive into that here right now because I think your video encapsulates that all. We'll put that in the show notes. If there's anything else that you think is helpful, we'll put that in the show notes as well. But again, thank you for joining the Low Code Approach podcast and for how you're using the Power Platform to even add value to our other Copilot offerings at Microsoft.
Thank you. And if people do want to get it for themselves, all they need to do is go to aka.ms/getpromptbuddy. And like you say, it gives them the repo, it's got the video on there and all of that stuff. So it's really easy to get started.
Fantastic.
But thank you for having us both. We're really excited. Big fans of the podcast.
Thank you so much. An honor to be here. Hope we can come back.
Absolutely. And thanks for making it late in your day. Talk soon.